සුපිරි අධිවේගයක් පරදා ඔබ මවිත කරවන වේගයක් විඳ ගන්න. පියවර 3කින් ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම් ෆයිබර් ඔප්ටික් ජාලයට එක්වන්න. slp.lk වෙත පිවිසෙන්න.
Good evening. Tonight, criminals to justice. President Maithripala Sirisena laments over the issues faced by law enforcement authorities on the lack of cooperation from foreign nations. Tear gas for a solution. Protest march by the students of the Higher National Diploma met with tear gas and water cannons. The Balancing Act. Cabinet co-spokesman Dr. Rajitha Senaratne clarifies the reasons behind the handing over of the Mattala Airport and Hambantota Harbour to two separate countries. Making allegations. Reconciliation Minister Mano Ganeshan alleges that Resettlement Ministry has failed to construct a single house in the north during the last 3 years.
But now 3 years have gone, not a single house has been built by that ministry.
And in international headlines, Pakistan election 2018 marred by violence. The general election closes after attacks leave dozens dead at a polling station. Live across the nation, this is Sri Lanka's news channel, Other Derana 24/7. Hello everyone, I'm Mahesh Johnny and welcome to First at 9. Well, people of Pakistan went to the polls today to elect a Prime Minister and a new government. Details of that story coming up on our international segment, but first we begin here at home. Our police used tear gas and water cannons in Colombo today to disperse protesting students of the Higher National Diploma Institute. Students staged the protest over several issues, including the demand to increase the Mahapula bursary.
Demanding solutions for several issues, including the increase of the 1,500 rupee Mahapula bursary to 5,000 rupees, students of Higher National Diploma commenced their protest march at the Punchiborala junction. Their march to the Presidential Secretariat in Golface led to a severe traffic congestion along major roads in the areas of Maradana and Colombo Fort. Riot police then took measures to close the route to the Presidential Secretariat at the Lotus roundabout. With protesters demanding passage through, riot police used tear gas and water cannons in an attempt to disperse the students. A student sustained injuries during the efforts by the riot police to quell the protest. This government attacked HND students who only spoke of their hunger because of the 1,500 rupee Mahapula bursary. We would like to let the government know that we are ready to face these challenges with more strength until we ensure our victory.
President Maithripala Sirisena laments a lack of cooperation of foreign nations when attempting to extradite absconded criminals who are evading the law on foreign soil. Addressing a function held in Colombo this morning, the head of state cited this as a major issue faced by local law enforcement authorities.
The Global Expert Group meeting on the Jakarta Principles was held under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena in Colombo today. The three-day event is co-hosted by the Commission to Investigate Allegations of Bribery or Corruption and the United Nations Development Project in Sri Lanka. It is attended by present and former heads of anti-corruption authorities from over 30 countries and international anti-corruption experts. When taking action on corruption, we see that there are a lot of shortcomings in international laws. For example, Sri Lankan criminals are hiding in foreign countries. The Criminal Investigation Division faces various issues in tracking them down and bringing them back, since we don't have the assistance of those countries. The laws of those countries on immigration and emigration, visa, citizens and borders have become challenging for us. The intellectual community of this country expects criminals to be brought to book, and one of the factors standing in the way of that is the lack of assistance of foreign countries in extradition. We see the importance of removing this obstacle when taking action against the corrupted.
Meanwhile, President Maithripala Sirisena has decided to temporarily halt appointments and promotions to employees in the education sector who are alleged to be political victims. As a result, earlier today, the planned trade union action organised by teachers was temporarily called off. The 13th procession of the Asala festival of the Ruhunu Maha Kathragama Dewala took to the streets this evening. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was in the audience yesterday to indulge this year's festival. Well, TV Derana and FM Derana are the media sponsors for the Asala festival of the Ruhunu Maha Kathragama Dewala.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was in Kathragama yesterday to watch the procession and called on the chief incumbent of the Kirivehera, Venerable Kobawaka Dhammadina Thera, who is recovering after being shot at recently. The Premier then illuminated the sacred grounds by turning on the lights, decorating the premises to mark the Asala festival. The 12th procession of the festival took to the streets at the auspicious time of 7:22 in the evening. The chief incumbent of the Kathragama Kirivehera, Venerable Kobawaka Dhammadina Thera, engaged in religious observances of the Asala festival yesterday. In the meantime, the firewalking, which is a ritual undertaken in devotion to Lord Kathragama, was held in front of the Valyamma Dewala this morning with the participation of around 400 devotees.
Minister of National Integration and Reconciliation Mano Ganeshan alleges that Ministry of Resettlement has failed to construct a single house out of its allotted 40,000 houses in the north during the last 3 years. Speaking to First at 9, the minister stressed that it is imperative to construct those houses with whatever means.
Construction of houses in the northern eastern provinces has come to limelight again. When our government commenced 3 years before, we had a survey and found that at least we need 150,000 houses in the northern eastern provinces which were devastated due to war. Within that, at least 50,000 houses were constructed, built by Government of India. Rest of the 100,000 houses were handed over for the construction to the Ministry of Resettlement, handled by Honorable Swaminathan, the minister. But now 3 years have gone, not a single house has been built by that ministry due to various reasons. And from that 100,000 houses, His Excellency the President took away 50,000 houses and put it into his ministry, which was under him earlier, that is Ministry of National Integration and Reconciliation. That ministry has come to me now. So therefore that house construction of 50,000 houses has come to me now. So yesterday in the cabinet we discussed this very deeply, because when the whole country criticizes former State Minister Vijayakala, we don't agree with the statement, but however, there is a anger that has reflected in a statement in the northern eastern provinces, which was devastated by war. It's come through a war. So we have a responsibility as a government, construct houses and settle those people. There are over 75,000 widows who are living there. We have a responsibility, but it has not happened so far. So therefore, I have very categorically told His Excellency the President and Honorable Prime Minister, whatever happens, the 50,000 houses which has come to me, I should be given free and to go out of the way and construct the houses.
Parliamentarians of the United Kingdom yesterday voted to suspend parliamentarian Ian Paisley for 30 sitting days. It follows his failure to declare 2 family holidays paid by the Sri Lankan government, and he will be absent from Parliament for some key Brexit votes. He has also been suspended by Northern Ireland's Democratic Unionist Party pending further investigation into his conduct. Speaker of the House John Burkow called it, quote, a regrettable state of affairs, unquote. Burqa will now formally inform the Chief Electoral Officer of this decision, and she has 10 working days to set up a petition which, if signed by 10% of North interim constituents, will lead to a by-election and Paisley having to stand down.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back, everyone. Cabinet co-spokesperson Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne concedes that avoiding a diplomatic tangle with China and India was at the heart of the decision to hand over the Hambantota Port and the Mattala International Airport to two countries. He made this remark while addressing the media briefing on cabinet decisions today.
European Union statement GSP
The President is of the staunch view that the capital punishment must be implemented irrespective of what tax concession we stand to lose.
UNESCO Commission සභාවේ ලේකම්තුමාත් කියනවා ඒ ඇත්තටම ඇමතුමා මේ කාටද උමනාව තියෙන මේ ගාල ක්‍රීඩාංගණය ඉවත් කිරීම පිළිබඳව
මේ තියෙන UNESCO එකේ නිර්දේශ හොඳේ.
The recommendations made by the UNESCO say not to construct anything new in addition to the existing pavilion, and they have asked to inform the World Heritage Committee before any renovations done to the pavilion.
එහෙම තියෙද්දි මේ ක්‍රීඩාංගණයේ මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ පැවිලියන් එක නීති විරෝධී කියලා කොහොමද ඇමතුමා කියන්නේ මේක කළොලා
ඒකේ කියලා තියෙනවා.
It says the construction of the pavilion is done in violation of the World Heritage Program.
ගොඩනැගිල්ල හදලා තිබෙන්නේ.
හිටපු ජනාධිපති මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහතා ප්‍රකාශයක් කළා තියෙනවා අර්ජුන මහේන්ද්‍රව අගමැතිතුමා මෙරට ගේන්නට කටයුතු සූදානම් කරනවා නම් ඔහු නිව්යෝක්ස් ටයිම් ගැන චෝදනාව ගැන පිළිතුරු ලබා දෙනවා කියලා.
ඔබතුමී අහන්නකෝ මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ. ඔය දෙකේ සම්බන්ධය මොකක්ද කියලා.
ඒගේම අගමැතිවරයටත් කියනවා අර්ජුන මහේන්ද්‍රන් ඉන්න තැන අගමැතිවරයා දන්නවා.
මා කියපු විදිහට අර්ජුන
Do you think Arjuna Mahendran would come back just because the PM asked him? Udayanga Veeratunga should also come back then just because former President Mahinda Rajapaksa asked him to. None of these events have happened. They have bank accounts in Singapore and 5 bank accounts in Hong Kong as well. We are having discussions with relevant governments about retrieving information about these bank accounts.
නියෝග දීලා ඒ බැංකුව වලට දීලා ගන්න.
දැන් ඇමතුමා මත්තල ගුවන් තොටුපොළ බදු දෙද්දී මේ ඒගොල්ලෝ කර්මාන්තපුරයට අවශ්‍ය ඉඩකඩම් ඔක්කොමත් එක්කමද දෙන්නේ?
ඇත්තටම ඉතින් මෙතන තියෙන්නේ මේ ආත්‍යන්තර ප්‍රශ්නේ රාජ්‍යතාන්ත්‍රික ප්‍රශ්නේ නෙමෙයි ඉන්දියාවද චීනේද?
මේ රාජ්‍යාන්ත්‍රික ගැටලු අපේ රටට ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන්නේ නැද්ද? දැන් ඉන්දියාවයි චීනයයි චීනේ
මේක නෙමෙයි චීනට ඒක දීලා මේක ඉන්දියාවට දෙන්නේ. බැලන්ස් එකට.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa sees no issues in the potential removal of his name from the pavilion at the Galle International Cricket Stadium. The former president made his thoughts clear on the matter today while speaking to media in Homagama.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa arrived at Homagama Puranvihara to pay his last respects to late Venerable Madhavita Panyaki Titera. Journalists questioned the former president over the government's plan to remove the Mahinda Rajapaksa pavilion at the Galle International Stadium. Everything is being removed due to the name. They also removed the Mahindyodaya from school laboratories. I don't mind removing my name from a stadium, but Mahindyodaya was a mega program to bring science and technology to rural schools. Those are service-oriented projects. However, the Mahindyodaya part has been removed from those laboratories. Mahindyodaya does not mean Mahinda Rajapaksa. Therefore, removing the name from the Galle Stadium is not a big issue. That must be the overflowing democracy.
Minister of Science, Technology and Research Dr. Sanath Amunugama says that the government should give great prominence to science in a country's development. Addressing the National Science Foundation Awards 2017 today in Colombo, the minister said that the secret behind the success of most developing countries is the role science plays in their societies.
If you look at all the developing countries which are moving forward, the secret of their success is the role of science in that society. If you take China, for example, the majority of members of the Politburo, the Central Committee, are scientists, in particular engineers. If you take the cabinet of Singapore, nearly all of them are professionals, a large number of them are engineers. There is a movement, if countries want to develop, they must give greater emphasis to science. We have large numbers of problems. We have health problems, growth problems, agricultural problems. How does science contribute to helping all those decision makers to make proper evaluations and take proper decisions in these matters? So we have to think of how we can transform our growing body of knowledge to something that is practical and finally something that is marketable. What we need, I think, in Sri Lanka is a scientific attitude, a way of absorbing modern technologies to solve common problems.
General Secretary of the United People's Freedom Alliance, Minister Mahinda Amaraweera, is confident that President Maithripala Sirisena will once more contest the looming presidential election from the SLFP and win a second term in office. Minister Amaraweera expressed his sentiments on the matter today while addressing a meeting of members from local authorities in Colombo.
A special meeting of the Muslim Council of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, who represent the local government authorities, was held at the residence of UPF's General Secretary Minister Mahinda Amaraweera yesterday. General Secretary of the SLFP, Professor Rohana Lakshman Piyadasa, and several others were also in attendance. Muslim MPs and council members who represent the Sri Lanka Freedom Party today passed a proposal to make President Maithripala Sirisena the next presidential candidate of the SLFP. Accordingly, I make that request. A very small team handled the election campaign during a time when the party was divided and the former leader had left the party with almost all senior officials. But we received over 1.7 million votes. We will be a decisive faction even in a future election. Some say the Flower Bud won the election, but it only received 40% of votes. They campaigned like a presidential election and behaved as if former President Mahinda Rajapaksa was contesting. We went for the election faced with a lot of issues like sitem, drought, fertilizer distribution and several others. In such a situation, they failed to get the majority. It is crystal clear that whoever the Flower Bud party put forth, that will be the result. It is same for the UNP as well, as they too cannot make their own candidate the president. In 2020, President Maithripala Sirisena will be the UPF's presidential candidate.
The Patriotic Professionals Forum accuses the government of failing to fully utilise the benefits offered by the Mattala International Airport and the Hambantota Port. Highlighting Chinese and Indian interest over the Hambantota Port and the Mattala International Airport, member of the Patriotic Professionals Forum, Dr. Nalaka Gudaheva, claimed that the government is uttering lies when it says that the two facilities are not profitable.
One of the main topics of the government when they came to power was that the previous government has indebted the country. But there has never been a government which borrowed like this government in the history. The current government has increased the national debt by 40% within just 3 years. They said Hambantota was a huge issue. He said government cannot pay the debt. And they didn't tell the people. 1/3 of the debt was already settled when they came to power by the Ports Authority, and yet Ports Authority was making profits. They said Mattala airport is not suitable, birds are coming. Then why are Indians interested? If Hambantota port is not suitable, why are Chinese interested? So these are all lies that they told the people. Recently they signed an agreement, a trade agreement with Singapore. One of the stupidest agreements signed ever by a government according to the professionals in this country. Singapore government claims already that they save $10 million a year from this trade agreement. What has Sri Lanka government got to say? Nothing. And then the minister goes to parliament and says the trade agreement has had cabinet approval. Again another lie. Now the parliament, the opposition claims cabinet approval has never been taken. Take what happened in Galle. A cabinet minister made a public remark that the UNESCO has informed the Sri Lankan government that the Galle International Stadium has to be removed because it is a threat to the heritage site, and if the government doesn't do that, heritage status for Galle Fort will be removed. Now we have found that's another lie. UNESCO has never discussed Galle International Stadium for the last 4 years. It was never in the agenda. Is this Yahapalane?
The Working Committee of the United National Party has decided to hold the provincial council elections by January next year. The Working Committee of the UNP convened today under the patronage of its leader Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and party headquarters, and its parliamentarians revealed their decision to media following the meeting. The Sri Lanka Red Cross Society distributed an unconditional cash grant of 10,000 rupees to 1,200 flood and landslide affected families within Kaluthara, Gampaha and Colombo districts yesterday. Most vulnerable families that was affected from the floods of this year were selected to this program. The event took place at the auditorium of the National Youth Centre in Maharagama under the patronage of President of Sri Lanka Red Cross, Jagatabisinghe. The aim of the program was to provide affected families to fulfill their basic needs such as buying back essential household items, medicine and other personal requirements. Over 300,000 people in 7 districts were affected by this year's floods, and many programs were carried out by Sri Lanka Red Cross in partnership with the Disaster Management Ministry in order to provide relief to people affected during the emergency phase. Business News. State Minister of Finance Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasises the need to invest more resources in human capital development than in mega development projects. The State Minister was speaking at a forum on budget proposals for 2019 and 2020 for human capital development, which took place in Colombo yesterday.
Our health system has a long way to go in terms of quality of the health system. Yes, of course, the indicators, the quantitative indicators are very high, and we are doing much better than our region. We are #1. Everyone needs a quality education. We need to invest in every student. It's not just about the share of the budget in education and health. Our government from 2015 has been increasing the spend on education and health, even as a portion of GDP. Not good enough, but at least there is a trend in that direction. This is the challenge we have. And we are often told, where is the development? I don't know if you are aware. Our government is building more highway capacity than the previous government did in their 10 years. I believe that rather than building those highways, whatever the electoral consequences are, that we should be putting some of those resources in human capital development, because that's where the future of the country should be. But these are the challenges of democracy. We need to create a more equal society. Sometimes in the guise of equality, we are doing things which may not be very, very equal.
Sri Lanka signed a $100 million credit agreement with the World Bank to support Sri Lanka's efforts to strengthen and modernize the country's education system. The General Education Modernization Program, identified as GEM, will modernize and diversify the curriculum of general education in keeping with the transformation taking place in Sri Lanka society and economy. The project will help broaden choices for the GCE advanced level students who are studying subjects from streams of arts, management, science, technology and vocational subjects. Learning material for English language and mathematics will be developed digitally. World Bank Country Director for Sri Lanka, Dr. Aida Swari Ridio, and Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, Dr. R.H.S. Samarathunga, signed the agreement today. Let's take you to the stock market now. Sri Lankan shares extended a fall for a third straight session today as investors sold blue chip shares, but foreign buying helped limit losses. The all-share price index ended 0.34% weaker at 6,162.49. The index, which is down nearly 3% in the year so far, had on Friday recorded its highest close since the 29th of June. Turnover stood at 161.4 million rupees, less than a third of this year's daily average of 873.1 million rupees. Meanwhile, the Sri Lankan rupee ended steady today as dollar demand from importers offset greenback selling by exporters. The rupee closed steady at 159 rupees and 50 to 60 cents per US dollar. With that, let's now take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies during the day today.
Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
International news now. Pakistan Prime Minister hopefuls joined millions of voters across the country today to cast their votes in the general election. Pakistan's cricket hero Imran Khan is going head-to-head with the party of jailed ex-Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, which is led by his brother Shahbaz Sharif. In the mix is also Bilawal Bhutto Sadari, the 29-year-old son of two-time Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto. The polls were, however, overshadowed by pockets of violence, with one particular bomb blast claiming at least 31 lives.
Violence has erupted as millions head to the polls in Pakistan, with at least 31 people dead in the worst attack, a bomb in the city of Quetta. Elsewhere, minor blasts and clashes between party workers left several injured and 2 dead. Opinion polls suggest the election battle will be between the parties of ex-cricket star Imran Khan and the disgraced former PM Nawaz Sharif. But the campaign has been overshadowed by concerns of fraud and violence. The Human Rights Commission of Pakistan says there have been blatant attempts to manipulate the polls. Khan has vowed to tackle corruption, but his rivals accuse him of benefiting from alleged meddling by the military, which has ruled Pakistan for nearly half of its history. Sharif, who won the last election, has been jailed for corruption after a scandal stemming from the Panama Papers leak, and his party is led by his brother Shahbaz Sharif. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, the 29-year-old son of two-time Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto, is also in the mix, with experts expecting his party to play a crucial role in efforts of either of the other two parties' efforts to establish a government. Polling has now ended, with results probably known early tomorrow.
While this news broke just a short while ago, researchers have found evidence of an existing body of liquid water on Mars. What they believe to be a lake sits under the planet's south polar ice cap and is about 20 kilometers across. Previous research found possible signs of intermittent liquid water flowing on the Martian surface, but this is the first sign of a persistent body of water on the planet in the present day. Lake beds like those explored by NASA's Curiosity rover shows water was present on the surface of Mars in the past. However, the planet's climate has since cooled due to its thin atmosphere, leaving most of its water locked up in ice. The discovery was made using Mars's radar instrument on board ESA's Mars Express orbiter. Let's take you to Laos now. Rescuers are racing to find survivors after a dam in Laos collapsed late yesterday, flooding several villages and killing at least 20 people. At least 100 people are still missing and thousands have lost their homes. The authorities in Atapu province have been using helicopters and boats to try to evacuate stranded villagers. The dam that collapsed is part of an hydroelectric power project which involves Laotian, Thai and South Korean firms.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7, Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Mahesh Johnny. First at 9 will return tomorrow at the same time. Be sure to join us then. Before we wrap things up for tonight, we like to take you to Ohia, a village in the Badulla district. The picturesque Colombo-Badulla railway line runs through Ohia, making it one of the most scenic locations in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.